Good evening, everybody. Please make sure that you sign in the chat so that we have a record of who was here. Okay, let's see who of my friends are here. Oh, the Richardsons. Good to see you. Aldria, how are you?
I'm doing well, Noreen. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you. Lupe, good to see you.
Nice to
Sharon,
see
good
you
to
too.
talk to you again after talking to you 15 minutes ago.
Thanks, Noreen. You too.
Melanie, hello. How are you?
Doing good, thank you. How are you?
Been a long day, but we're getting there. So, but it's equally long for you, just in a different way. You've got kids. Renee, hello. Javinia, hello. Carol, good to see you. This is a good group tonight. Okay, any of you have just joined who didn't sign in yet, please do so in the chat so we have a record of who's here, and we're going to give it one more minute and then we're going to get started. Okay, Drew, you ready to go? Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for being here this evening. It's always nice to see all of you. We're gonna run through some things, and then basically after that, we're gonna spend some time just kind of talking about how best to meet the needs of family childcare providers, teachers, and what it is we need to do to get feedback and support you in the ways that need to happen. But right now, the first part of this is really about where we are right now and what questions you have about where we are right now. Okay, so let's go on into the next one. All right. So first we're going to talk about timeline matching and enrollment. Okay. So the first part of this, the pre-registration period, is done. That's why it's in gray. Okay. The family matching is about to begin. So any families who still need to make changes to their application or want to enroll before the DAA is run, that has to be done by 5 o'clock on Saturday. Now, some of us from JI are going to be at an event at the Southeast Y on Saturday. We will be checking our email for any families who still need to make changes at that point. But it would be really better if you have any families that you know need to make changes in their applications, if you let them know that they really should contact us before close of business tomorrow, so that we can get that done. And then, so the algorithm runs on Monday, and on Tuesday through May 7th, but on Tuesday, you're going to get your proposed matches. Okay. And just like it for any of you who are new providers, I'm going to talk to the old ones right now. And if you have any additional questions, you can ask. But basically, this is the same thing as we did last year. So you sign into your portal and you take a look at the list of folks that have been matched with you, essentially. Okay. And during that time, between the 23rd and the 7th, you want to reach out to those families that have been matched with you because they cannot see matches on their side. This is your time to look at the people that have been matched with you and to be able to reach out to them and set up a tour, set up a conversation, whatever it is you want to do during that time to determine, to help you determine and the family determine whether your match, the match with you, is going to be a good match. Okay. Now remember that unless you're a co-op or which you're not, none of you are, you do not have a legitimate reason to decline a family who has been matched with you. Okay. So you're not accepting and you're only declining if you have a legitimate reason. But all of you in your program setup basically said, none of these things that are potential decline reasons apply to me because they don't. Okay. So this is equitable access. All right. However, when you are having conversations with these families somewhere between the 23rd and the 7th, if you find one that you are really convinced that you cannot meet the needs of that particular family or child, and you've had a conversation with that family to explain to them why you cannot meet their needs, you may call me and say, I have a concern about this particular family, and this is why, and this is the conversation we've had. And if I need to, I will try to get in the middle of it so that the family actually declines you when the match goes to them, as opposed to you having to accept a family that for whatever reason you are uncomfortable with. But it's got to be a really, 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 really good reason. Okay. But you are free to call and talk with me about that and say, hey, here's what happened. So on May 8th, families will be notified of their first round of matches, and they will either accept or decline by May 15th, and they must do one or the other. And if they do nothing, they will go back into selected status and will run through the DAA the next time around in July. Okay. No continuity of care will be taken into consideration for the DAA run. The state stance on that is that they allowed pre-registration for 1 month, and then they allowed us approximately 2 weeks to fix anything that came to our attention with families that either didn't get the continuity of care in there or didn't accept their seat or whatever. So they figure after 6 weeks and a lot of support, if a family did not get it done, then that's their stance. Okay. So no continuity of care will be taken into consideration during the DAA. Everybody is on the same playing field. Okay. Then on, we're not exactly sure what will happen between May 15th and July 5th, except that we certainly know that we will be supporting families in adding in other providers if they didn't get a match, et cetera, so that they can potentially be matched on July 5th. But there's not likely to be any direct placement available during that time. Okay. So we will be supporting families, as I said, in getting their choices where they want them to be if they didn't get a match in the first round, or at least not one that they're excited about. So on July 5th, the second family to provider matching round runs. And you will be getting your matches on July 6th. And you will need to accept or decline your matches by July 22nd. That is a longer time frame because of when they are running the algorithm. It is over, a holiday week / weekend. But so that's a little bit longer time for you to review and tour families or whatever you would like. Then those matches will go to the families on July 23rd. And the families then must either accept or decline by July 31st. So they will have 1 week. And then beginning on August 1st, we will go to direct enrollment for non-IEP students. Any and all IEP students are going through an entirely different process. And shouldn't be anything you need to worry about anyway, but they're going through an entirely different process. So direct enrollment is exactly what we're doing right now and have been doing since November 9th. So that basically means if a family calls you up and says, hey, I really want to come to you, and the family meets the UPK eligibility and you have a seat, then you can say, please put this child in this seat. If you don't have a seat, but you do have a seat, you can ask us to increase your seat by 1 and put the child in the seat. So that's where the control goes back to you on August 1. And so that's 2 runs through the algorithm, and then August 1, the control goes back to you. Okay. Now I'm going to stop here for a minute and I'm going to ask you what questions you have on this. Is this all clear to you? You understand how this is working?
So I understand this right. Because I just had a family, she just now signed it up and she did came to my mommy me class and she did not click continuity of care. So is there a way she still can go in because she did not know that mommy me class would have, so she cannot no more?
Nope, no continuity of care anymore. That's over. And
Okay.
so she will run through the algorithm based on her lottery number.
Okay.
Yep. Anybody have any other questions?
I do have one, Noreen, and that's the timeline, because the provider handbook had, and this probably makes more sense, but when did they change the direct enrollment to 8/1?
It always was.
Not in the handbook, it's not.
I don't think they put a specific date in there. I think they said late July, early August. But it's 8/1, and it's
Okay.
after families accept or decline their matches through the second algorithm.
Okay.
And if it's not correct in the family handbook, I'll tell them to fix it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it says July 6th or July 8th in there, but I'll double check.
Okay. I've never seen that anywhere. So thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, like I said, I'll double check it, but
Okay.
Noreen, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So you've mentioned the lottery. Are we in the same boat as the schools?
Yes.
The lottery numbers just go wherever their location is, or so we're in the same contention, like the schools tended to fill up before we did last year. So I just want to make sure that we're on the same level, if you will.
Yes. So the whole premise of UPK is equitable access to the location of the family's choice. Okay. So if the first 4 choices that they put are school districts and then they go down to private providers, the lottery is always trying to get them as high up their list as possible. That's why the order matters. Okay. So they're running it through trying to see based on the child's lottery number if there is a seat at their first choice. And if there isn't, then it's the second choice. And if there isn't, it's the third choice. And it goes all the way down until, there's either a match or there's no match at all because there's no seats anywhere that they wanted to go.
Okay, so if all they chose were school districts, then we are not in the running for that family.
No.
Okay. All
They
right.
have to choose you in order for you to be considered for a match. So it is not something where the UPK system picks somebody out and says, here you go. It's based on the family's choice.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned that there's only 2 matching rounds.
Okay, but there's going to be only 2 matching rounds. I do understand. The school districts are concerned that the second matching round is too late. They would like to see it in early June. But it's not going to change. This is what's published and this is what the state is going to do. And in some ways, I don't think it's a bad thing because last year, if you remember, we had matching rounds on top of matching rounds on top of matching rounds on top of matching rounds. And for those of you who only had a couple of seats, maybe yours got filled pretty quickly and you were done. For those who had lots of seats, trying to manage, the various cycles of the matching rounds was incredibly difficult. So I think this is going to be cleaner and less confusing for families. And the nice thing is, whereas last year we went to direct enrollment on November the 6th, so you were already fairly far into your year. Now it's going to be August 1. So you have, the control goes back to you a lot earlier. And so, that's a good thing. So understand your concern, Carol. We've had 2 other meetings today, and in both of them, there has been concern with either when the rounds are running or how many. But I confirmed just a little while ago on a call with one of the head honchos at the state, and it had the opportunity to express that concern. And she said, I understand we can't please everybody, but this is not going to change. So let's continue on through the slides, and then I'll be happy to accept or answer any of your questions as we're moving on. So let's do the next one. If for any reason you need to make seat adjustments, and I'm making some right now for Sharon as an example, you can adjust your seats in preparation for the matching on the 22nd on Monday. However, your seat request changes has to be in by noon tomorrow, and they come to me. So there will not be any changes after that. You can either increase or decrease seats, or in some cases you can do both. So if you've now looked at your continuity of care, you know where things are going and how they sit, then if you feel like you want to add some more seats, that's great. If you decide that you've got more 3-year-olds that are potentially coming in and you don't want to have to be in a position in which you have to juggle that, then you can decrease your seats and leave a few more seats for 3-year-olds if you would like. Noon tomorrow is the cutoff, and it comes to me, and I'm fairly sure that there's not going to be any exception to that. So any of you who are on your Facebook group or anything of that sort, it would be really great if you would put something out to your group that says if you need to make seat adjustments, you need to contact your LCO by noon tomorrow, or the adjustments will not likely be made before the matching round.
Okay, will do.
Thank you. And then there's a period here of May 16th through the 24th if you want to adjust seats in preparation for the second matching round. And then August 1st through the 9th, you can adjust your seats again. I have found, at least here in El Paso County, that Jenny, our LCO person, is more than happy to adjust seats whenever you want them adjusted. So if for some reason it isn't within this time frame, just send me what you want. I will insist on an email so that I have a paper trail. You can certainly call me and discuss it with me, and then I'm gonna ask you to send me an email to confirm it. But you're free to change seats whenever. You don't have to stick to this. Any questions on seat adjustments at this point? All right, let's go on to the next one. So, this is a really popular subject among you guys. So let me talk to you about what's happening with provider agreements if some of you have not received your DocuSign yet. I did find out that they have two groups that they're working on up at the state in the procurement office. One is the group where everybody has of everybody who has their stuff in, and everything is in. And then they're working through that in the order that they came in and sending out the DocuSign, okay? The other group is folks that don't have everything in. And that might include when things were sent in, there was no statement in there attesting to the fact that the provider was going to accept the terms of the provider agreement. And they will not do anything unless there is something in that that says that you're going to accept the terms of the provider agreement, that you've read it, you understand it, and you're going to accept the terms. So I do understand that they are doing, you can move on to the next one, Drew. They are doing weekly office hours for providers from Friday from 3 to 4. And they are even looking up during those office hours, they're even looking up for individual providers, whether all of your stuff is in. So if you have not gotten a DocuSign yet, and you are not sure whether all of your stuff is in, you've got two choices. You can go to this, you can open up a ticket at this cdec_procurement.contracts at state.colorado.us and ask them whether everything is in. Or you can attend the office hours and ask them to look it up then and there, okay? You must have a DocuSign in before you can be paid. So by, I would say July 1, because sometime in July, your enrolled students are going to be downloaded for payment in August. And we don't have the exact payment schedule yet. I wish we did, but we don't. But I do know that there is going to be a payment in August, and it's going to be based on something having to do with kids that are in accepted status and or enrolled status after the second DAA. So you want to make sure that everything is in by that time, or you're not going to get paid in August. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, let's move on. Okay, so I have been doing some surfing lately, and particularly with some providers that have been concerned that maybe they don't have a lot of people who have chosen them. And in my mind, there is one reason why a provider would not do something about a profile setup. And that is if the only seats that you have in there are continuity of care kids and they're already filled. And then at that point, you don't really need to worry about your profile, right? But if you're out there trying to market in the community and you're trying to compete with other UPK providers for kids, and you want families to put you on their list, then you really need to focus on your profile, okay? Now, everything should be unlocked except your programs. You cannot change your programs yourself. You can't touch those, but everything else should be unlocked. So if it's not, you can feel free to reach out to me and let me know, and I'll try and figure out what the issue is. And I'm going to remind you again that if you have full day or extended day programs or programs that are over 15 hours, and you're going to charge for those additional hours, you have to put your tuition in there, and it needs to go under the financial section there's a place in there that it says other options or other payment options or something of that sort. Please publish your tuition in there. If you only have part day, then you don't need to worry about it. If you only have half day, you don't need to worry about it. But if you have something more than that, you do. Okay, and at some point, they're going to have us circle back and contact you if you don't have it in there. All right, so please do that for me. If you need any help with your provider setup, first of all, go to the provider guide and look at the information that's in there. And the provider guide is up on the UPK site, and go through that. And if you still need help, please reach out and I'll be happy to help you. Questions on that? Okay, next. Just a reminder, all of this is up on the UPK page and has come out to all of you for whom this is that you qualify. But these grant opportunities are here. These bonus opportunities are here. They're up on the UPK page. Also, these will be posted on the UPK page tomorrow. So you can go back and look at any and all of these in the slides. This is one of the benefits of being a UPK provider, is the fact that there are certain things that are available to UPK providers only in terms of additional funding. So hopefully you'll take advantage of the ones that you're eligible for. Next. Okay, reminder of the provider resources that are out there. So we have the JI UPK page, and please visit that regularly, bookmark it, look for things up there first before you give us a call, unless you're really under the gun and don't have time to do that. And so we try to keep everything up to date. We are going to start putting the things that you absolutely have to know immediately up at the very top. And we haven't necessarily done that, but we're going to rework it so that if you go to the page and you go there every once in a while, like once a week or something, I would go a little bit more than that, but once a week, the stuff that is at the very top is what is most pressing for you. Okay, next. And then there's all the CDEC stuff. The provider handbook is linked on our page. The family handbook is linked on our page. These are actually updated fairly regularly, and it's usually the FAQs that are in the back that are updated. The link goes directly to the most updated version. So if you're one of those people that likes to download things and keep them on your desktop, you may not have the most up-to-date version. The best way to do it is just, when you want to look at it, is just go to the UPK page. The CDEC website with provider information is there, and then you can also sign up for the Universal Preschool Newsletter. I will tell you that CDEC has changed their platform for the Universal Preschool Newsletter. So if you've all of a sudden stopped getting it, go to their UPK page, their provider information page, and sign up for it again. Because I'm not sure it's transferring over. So you may need to sign up on the new platform. Next. Okay, quality standards. Now, we're not going to go through this tonight. Instead, here's what we're going to do. I am going to walk through these slides just so that you know what's up here. But the final quality standards have been adopted. And they are, again, linked on our UPK page. And these, however, are all the way at the bottom. So you have to scroll at the bottom to get to the quality standards, and you can click on a clean copy of the quality standards that have been adopted. Most of the things that would impact you are not being implemented till 2025. In 2024, it's mostly business as usual in terms of following your licensing requirements, okay? But you do need to start preparing for what's coming in for 2025 if you want to stay in UPK. So you should be familiar with what's happening with the quality standards. So the reason we're not going to go through this in detail tonight is because LCOs are being given an opportunity next week sometime to participate in a webinar with Early Milestones, who are the people who coordinated the quality standards. And we get to ask all sorts of questions about what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? What's going to happen here, et cetera. So I will have more information then. And it will also be a great opportunity for you between now and then, or even tonight before we hang up, for you to say, hey, I want to know what this means, or what is this going to mean for us? And then I could make sure that I ask those questions in the webinar if it's not clear. And then we're going to set something up in early May. And I think it may be the same time that we're going to do your family childcare get together, where we can talk in person, virtually, or a hybrid on things that are on your mind. And so we'll figure that out, but we're going to do something in early May that will be a quality standard. Like that's what we're going to address. And then you guys can either stay afterwards, or you could come early, or you can sign in virtually, and we can talk about the things that are specific to you. But we're going to set that up for sometime in early May. Okay, so that's why we're not going to spend a lot of time on this tonight, because most of the questions that you have, I probably don't have answers for, and I hope to get them. But let me show you what's on the slides up here. So next. So they first went over the, the timelines for this. As you know, January through March is done. The rules have been promulgated. So this summer they are working on the resource bank that we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. And then in 24-25, the first set of the UPK quality standards go into effect. Next, Drew. Okay, so on these slides, they have just a summary of the things that are going to into effect in 24. So you can see what some of these are. Again, I want you to read the quality standards. They're not that long. And look at each one of these to be able to see whether this applies to you. The 360 minimum hours, we're already doing that. The equal opportunity non-discrimination clause, that's basically what equitable access is, and we're already doing that. Teacher qualifications, we're already doing. It's based on childcare licensing rules. And we're maintaining compliance with regarding suspensions and expulsions. By the way, you're already doing that. And then the implementation of educating children with disabilities, the school districts are already doing that. Let's go to the next one. Implementation of ratios and group sizes. You may see that they're sticking with childcare licensing standards for now, which means that the group size will not be 1 to 10, or the ratios will not be 1 to 10. It will be 1 to 12. But I do believe that there will be some changes over time in that, and it will have to do with quality ratings more than anything else. So I mean, none of you should have to worry about this, because your childcare homes and this doesn't apply to you, but the centers are paying attention to this. And then again, group sizes in 25 reduced to 1 to 11 and 22, except for providers with a QRS rating of 4 or 5, and then the same thing for 26. So that's coming, but again, it shouldn't impact you. Next. The timeline for provider matching criteria, it's basically allowing, I mean, it's what we're doing right now. This is fancy words for what we're doing right now. And compliance with the statutory provisions, including the non-discrimination provision. That's what we're doing right now. Instructional timeline, they are going to be starting to look at implementation of on-site observations in alignment with Colorado Shines, within, once every 3 years. Personally, I don't think that they're going to be able to get to this in year 24, 25, but they might. Wouldn't worry about it. So it's just the same kind of things that happens with your Colorado Shines ratings. And then providers utilizing early learning and assessment approach that included in the resource bank, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Okay, next. So again, these are 2025 and you can see the dates on them. So Melanie, you asked about what I meant by 2025. It's in here. So it could be July 1, it could be some other date other than that, but each one of these compliance pieces are in here in terms of the date that they go into effect.
Okay, thank you.
Next. Yep, next. Same thing for family and community engagement, okay? So these are gonna start a little bit earlier because the philosophy is that families should always be involved in their child's education and want to make sure that families are engaged in what it is you're doing. And so there'll be more opportunities for you to be able to see examples of the kinds of things that the policies that are developed and the things that will be in line with the guidelines. Next. And then professional development. So 2024, it's basically licensing requirements. 25, there are things about all staff completing training by licensing. And then 26 is instructional supervisors must complete training. So again, the specifics are in there, and the next slide really kind of outlines some of that in detail. So again, these slides are going to be really important to you, and they will be up on the page tomorrow. So it'll give you some sort of an idea as to what is currently being required of non-UPK providers and what will be required of UPK providers. So it's a little bit different. So family childcare homes are separated out, which is good. Okay. All right, so let's stop for, well, no, let's finish the resource bank. So, so the resource bank is being set up right now. There will be 3 areas of resources that align with the quality standards: instructional practice, healthy development, and family and community engagement. And as you can see, there are 3 types of resources. So there's going to be basic information, there's going to be links to local and statewide experts and partners, and there are going to be tools and templates available. So there should be a lot of resources there for you to be able to draw upon to help you in meeting the quality standards. Next. And then here's some example of resource bank content. So you can read this information on best practices, support and information to help you access expert community partners, tools to assess your staff's training in relation to each of the standard areas, information and guidance to help you understand if your early learning and assessment approach meets the standard, and a list of approaches that do. Further guidance on the on-site observations, sample screening policies, and sample family engagement policies. So those are the kinds of things that are going to be up in the resource bank. They are only starting to populate it now. So it is not up and it is not ready to go yet. Okay, so they did ask us to ask you that if you have any current written policies or processes on screening, referral, and or engaging families, that they would love to see those. And here's a QR code, and there's also a link underneath it. You could probably also provide them a continued input into the resource bank at those if that was something that you wanted to do. Okay, let's stop sharing at this point and let's talk. Okay, so what concerns, questions, suggestions do you have at this point? What do you want us to know? What do you need?
Well, I'm going to throw this one out there. so the center guidelines and rules, there's about 450 of them. Licensed childcare home providers have over 950, and they just added in 54 more pages. So I'm just throwing this out there because maybe you can kind of think about this from a different perspective. But if we are governed harsher, why can we not possibly be seen in the same light? Because all of our trainings now and all of our assistance and everything we do is aligned with the center. Plus, we have the additional 500 rules, yet our ratios are so much lower. And so it's just something like, on one hand, I love being a family child care provider, but at the same time, if I'm going to be governed as hard or harsher than a center, and I have to follow all the same rules as a center, then I should get the same perks as a center. You know? So just kind of throwing it out there in talks.
So there have been many, many opportunities to provide input into the to childcare licensing rules and regulations as they have been changed and developed. And I know many of you have done that through your various avenues, whether it's ECEA or whatever it is may be. And you should continue to do that.
Yeah.
So the person that you're talking to right now is concerned about all things UPK and you being able to meet the quality standards for UPK as things are being implemented, right?
Agreed.
And I do understand that that ties in with childcare licensing. But there's not a person in the UPK department that has any control over childcare licensing. So I want you to continue to be the best possible advocate you can be for rules and regulations for family childcare homes in licensing. I'll tell you what else I'll do is I'll ask somebody from JI who is really experts in childcare licensing and particularly family childcare homes to join us in May for whatever it is we set up at that point. And then maybe you can, direct some more of these issues to them. JI does an amazing job on all levels of advocating. And so the more information that the right people have, the better.
Well, I think one of the problems too, I'm going to flat out throw it out there. The people that sit on these RAC committees and that constantly get placed on these RAC committees, not one of them is doing UPK. So this is where it gets hard for us, but you're right. I need to be advocating in the right place.
Well, and I'm always happy to listen, but I can't help you.
No, I do agree with that. I was just noticing, when I'm just kind of aligning it with, if we're kind of talking about what's going to be different for us or what's the same for us, then, all these standards that are going to be aligned the same, then maybe we should also look at that, and see what we can do about that. That's all.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was trying to tie that in.
Yeah. Well, and that's why those of you who are interested in that kind of thing really need to understand what the quality standards are as it pertains to family childcare homes, and where you think that there is an issue. Be specific.
Yes.
Right? So this is an issue, and this is why.
Great. Agreed. Thank you, Noreen.
Yep. Other questions or comments?
So I have a question or comment. The on-site observation that they're talking about, can you clarify that anymore? What would that look like? What is it like? Is it like our licensing visit? Is it like, can a NAFIC observation apply to it? Like, how does that look?
We have not received enough information to know what the observation situation will look like. And that's part of the reason why I don't think they're going to be able to get it started in 24, but who knows? What do I know? But I'll tell you what, I'll put that in as a question for our for our meeting next week with early milestones and say, you know, tell me a little bit more about what this looks like. And are there other observations that could count for UPK, particularly for family childcare teachers who, you know, they really don't want a revolving door. Right?
Exactly.
So I can certainly put that question in there.
Okay.
And I will
Thank you.
tonight when we're done. What else?
So when do you think you'll have some idea on pay structure?
What do you mean?
Well, because you said there's definitely going to be an August payment, so it kind of sounds like it's going to go in line with that. But also, I mean, are we kind of sticking with what we were saying after like October last year, where if the child starts after that cutoff, we just need to make sure we're charging that family? Is that going to be allowed?
Yeah, we don't have the details on that yet. And
Okay.
I think it's going to stick more to kind of what they've done toward the end of this year, which is, you know, if you've enrolled the child and the child's start date is from here to here, you're eligible for pay for that month, right? And so I think that that's probably what they're going to do. I
Mhm.
think that's why they went to that, is to address some issues that were coming up with, you know, families having to be charged for, you know, 6 weeks before they could even start with UPK, even though they were with the provider. So I think they're trying to come up with a way to fix that. And I think they mitigated a little bit of that at the end of this year with what they did. But again, we don't have the details on that.
Mhm.
So the state is hiring a couple new people, first of all, and second of all, they are down one key staff person right now. And they are pedaling as fast as they can at this point, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing that. Frankly, I'm tired of hearing it, but it is what it is. And so they are literally addressing like what is on their plate right this minute. So
I gotcha.
and so I'm sure there's somebody working on what the pay structure is going to look like, and it's probably going to come from Metrics IQ again, but we have not been told. So
Okay.
yeah. So I'll start pushing that though. I backed off. I pushed it for a little while, and then I was basically told, Noreen, we got bigger fish to fry right now. And well, part of the reason for that is because we're ending up a school year right now. They're running a UPK year at the same time they're setting up another one, right?
Exactly.
And so they do have bigger fish to fry right now, but they still should be able to get this stuff out pretty quickly. And at least, you know, we finally got an answer that there is going to be payment in August. That was something.
Yes, very true.
So, you know, hang tight on that. I know it's hard for planning purposes, but we'll get it to you as soon as we have it.
And then Brad, you had mentioned something about invoicing. Did you want to talk about that? Because you know more than I do on that one.
You was reading my mind. I was just getting ready to ask if you could give some clarification and guidance on what they're wanting from us as far as the invoicing for UPK to metrics. Is it
You're not
quarterly? Is it,
invoicing. You're not invoicing.
it says very clearly that we're going to be sending them an invoice.
Yeah, Brad, I know that. And so let me tell you about the conversation that I had with the procurement guy. When you brought up a lot of the questions about that, and then others chimed in, I went back to the head of procurement and I said, can you make some changes in this that are, because you've got this basic format, if you will, right? It's a state contract format that they have. And I said, and you've got things in here that just simply don't apply, and it is confusing. And he came back and said, in fact, I'll actually even send you the email. It's pretty funny. But he actually came back and said, no, we're not making any of these changes, and no, nobody is invoicing UPK. You will be paid the same, and I was told it was in the provider agreement for this current year too, it's just nobody bothered to read it. So, and I was literally told that. So, it is a standard contract from the state. They will not make any changes. And, no, they have no intentions of having providers invoice the state. It will be the same system, with the vendor for Metrics IQ, where on a particular date, they will download your enrollment and, they will pay off of that based on, eligibility for the child. And again, I think that there'll be some play in there with regard to start dates and what they consider to be a full month or a half month or whatever. But again, that hasn't come out yet.
Noreen,
Yeah,
I'm sure the majority of the providers on this roundtable today were not able to attend the procurement office hours because they are during the time we're caring
Right.
for kids. I happen to not be on Friday afternoons.
right.
And a couple of weeks ago, during that office hours, they cleared up that there is no invoicing that's going to be required because that
Right.
came up, but they had addressed that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a standard contract. They don't take things out of their standard contract, and there you go. So, so what else?
Well, my worry is still the declining part of parents. I'm still worried about this because these interviews I had, and we had talked about it, there were 2 kids in it where I know there is something going on, and I know they're going to show up in my list. And I'm afraid that I have to go through this whole process, enroll them, do the what's a kids care? What is that thing called? Child find. They come, blah, 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 and then they get pulled out, and then I might missing a payment. And why can I not say, is that a good reason, if they show up on my list, that I can say I'm not able to take care of those kids?
You're not allowed to. So Sandra, you and I are both broken records at this point at each other about this particular subject. And you can say it as many times as you want to, as many ways as you want to say it. And my answer is going to be the same. You're not allowed. So, and so here's the situation. Here's what happens. So if you were to pull a decline out that does not apply to you and you decline a family, we have to go through and we're charged with reviewing all declines and either accepting or rejecting them. Okay. And we particularly review the ones that are outside of school districts because the school districts have the most allowable reasons to decline a child. So they live outside the district or something of that sort, right? So we don't generally have to spend a lot of time on those, but we do look at the declines and we have to go through on every one of them, even the school district declines, and either accept or reject. And so, so if you were to pull a decline out that you wanted to use, and it was not something that you were permitted to use based on your setup, we'd have to reject it, and that child would end up in matched. So the better way to do this is for you to navigate that conversation as best you can with the family, and just let them know that you're concerned that you may not be able to meet the child's needs, okay? And if the family is insisting that they need to be with you, that's when you call me. and I get in the middle of it, okay? And try to see if we can find another placement for that family that will work with them without you having to try to do something you're not allowed to do. Okay? And so you're just going to have to accept that. I don't know what else to say to you. As I said, the only other option is for you to not be a UPK provider, because that's the way the system works. So
But it's in my handbook, you know, and I have it in my steps, where when people go through what steps they have to take, it says in there clear. The first thing it says, you know, if you feel that there is a concern going on with your child, then Kika is not a good fit. But I just had another tour, and I said, did you read to my steps? And she's like, oh no, I didn't went through this. I went to the first part, I see your video, and boom, bang, I picked you. And I'm like, ooh, why am I writing all this when they're not even going through it? You know, it's like,
See, I think all of the issues that everybody's having in the home care side of it is that 2-word term, equitable access.
Yep.
Equitable access terms usually describe public school systems. You can go anywhere in the United States and get the exact same kind of equitable care treatment for your child across the state. Now they've brought in privately owned and operated in-home cares, preschools, daycares, whatever you want to call it. And now they're exerting that governmental control over a private industry that the government has no need to control. We should be allowed to have autonomy on ourselves to control our own business the way we see fit. Even though we're a subcontractor with the government, we should still have our own autonomy, and we don't have that anymore.
you are correct. You do not have it. And I think that the response that will be back is you don't have to be a UPK provider.
Correct, but we cannot compete with free. So
I
the government is
understand.
essentially putting us out of bid. You either comply or you go away.
I understand. But that's going to be the response. You know, you
this
do
is
not
where-
have to, you do not have to be a UPK provider. So
This is where I wish we had enough providers that would stand up and say, this is not right.
Yeah.
But we don't. We have 1, maybe 2, maybe 5. If you just go statewide, you might have 30, but nobody in this business has the backbone to stand up and say, no, do it without us and see how well it goes.
yep.
we tried so many
It has
times
to
to
be.
get everybody together, and it's always little people. I mean, 2, 3 people, and that is not helping.
So, you know, a little bit of perspective from my my perspective and my history. So you guys all know that that I was the CEO of the Head Start program for 21 years. And we had contracts with school districts for the Colorado preschool program, and which is the forerunner to UPK. Okay. And the only people who got state support for Colorado preschool program was school districts. And school districts completely decided whether or not they were going to partner with somebody else. And in fact, most school districts wouldn't even touch family childcare homes as a partner. We even argued through CPCD that we had some family childcare home partners that had Head Start slots in them that we felt and had great Shines ratings that we felt should be able to be a contracted partner through us for the Colorado preschool program. And the state said, no. We can't control the quality in family childcare homes, and there was a really lack of respect, if you will, for family childcare teachers. And that's why I insist on not calling you family childcare homes. As far as I'm concerned, you're family childcare teachers. Okay. It may be in your home, but you're still teachers. Okay. Because we've got to shift the thinking on that, it's a different model that a lot of families really like. Okay. And there's a curriculum and there's all these things that are going on. So you're gonna, because you're being held to quality standards, you're gonna have the same level, no matter where you go, you're gonna have the same level of preschool for your child, early care and education, as I like to call it, for your child, okay? So I just wanna say that just for a little bit of perspective, this is actually a step forward from where the Colorado preschool program was, because CPP, you couldn't touch, a family childcare home could not touch Colorado preschool program. So when they designed universal preschool, one of the things that they went to was, we want a mixed delivery system so that families really have a choice other than their school district, right? To be able to get some support for their 4-year-old child. And everybody insisted that this was going to be licensed providers, no matter what, whether it was family childcare teachers or centers or school districts, right? And so that truly is a step forward from what was. And I think unless you know what was and can really think about, you didn't have this option at all in the Colorado preschool program. There was no opportunity to get support outside of a school district. And so now you've got that option, and it is an option. And yes, they're not going to give you state money and then allow you to do whatever the heck you want. There's too much liability for them because we all have kids involved, right? And they're just not going to do that. So, the ballot initiative happened, the funding happened, the legislation was set up, the legislation calls out what's going to happen with regard to this. And I do believe it or not, I do believe that people up at the state have heard there should be a little bit more leeway for family childcare teachers, because people are coming into their home. Okay. And I think that there is some concern about that. But Sandra, what you're really talking about is not a disruptive parent or somebody who isn't safe or something of that sort. You're talking about being able to meet the specific needs of a child according to your guidelines, right? And there isn't a provider out there that isn't dealing with exactly the same thing, whether it's in a center, a home, a Head Start program, or a school. Kids are crazy right now, okay? And I mean, they are, right?
No,
And,
they are.
and so there's a lot of behavioral health needs and things of that sort, right? So if everybody got the opportunity to choose, take state funding and be able to choose whether or not they were going to deal with kiddos that are challenging, none of those kids would ever get support. So, so instead, they've set it up in this particular way. And again, as much as you hate to hear it, you have a choice. You do not have to be a UPK provider. So that's just the reality of the situation, right?
There again, though, with the equitable access, at some point in time, we have to take what the best interest of the child is and put it above equitable access. I'm not going to sit there and say, little Johnny over here can climb a tree. Little Timmy can't climb off of the stool. But yet, I'm going to make little Timmy climb the tree just like little Johnny.
Oh,
It's
you're not
equitable
gonna,
access. but I'm not going to sit there and look at the two and say, these two apples are exactly the same. They're not.
I don't
And
And
think
we
that's,
can't,
And
go ahead,
our,
Jen. I'm sorry.
our, and again, our preschool is a little bit different. Our kids are allowed a little bit more than what a normal daycare or a preschool would allow, or school, because we are a nature preschool. And I would not want a special need child to sit on my tractor and ride with Mr. Pratt, stuff like that. There is no way. I have to tell that kid, I'm sorry, you're not eligible. I cannot do this. And I have to keep holding him that he's not running into the tractor, stuff like this. And it's not, okay, let's not do tractor rides at all then no more. Done. Just because of that one child who has that special need, I cannot do anything for the other kids no more. And that bugs me. That is what why parents come to us, because of all these special things we do.
I understand, and therefore it may be a good fit for a lot of families and not a good fit for some other ones. And it's up to you to be able to help that family see that it might not be a good fit for them.
And this is the problem. The
But
special
Sandra,
need
that's
parents are always think this, because it's more freedom. They think their special need kids are free here and they can do what they want and don't get hold back. But this is not right.
okay. We're not getting anywhere because I have already explained to you what the state's position is. And it also happens to be one that I share. But I also do understand that not every setting is right for every child. Okay. And what I can do in this is, if you have one that you feel pretty comfortable, you simply cannot meet their needs, and you are not able to help that parent see that, then you need to call me. Okay.
Okay.
And I will try to work with the parent to find another placement for that child. Okay.
Okay.
So that's what you can do. That's what we can do. That's one of the ways that we can work around this. But I truly do believe in equitable access. I do believe that every family should have the same opportunity to get a seat where they want their child to go. And that's what the lottery system does. And again, I can take it to an extreme, and I could say you could have an in-home provider who is let's say has a particular religion, okay, and doesn't want to take anybody else except for the people that are from that religion, right? Then they've got a couple of choices. They don't become a UPK provider, and therefore take whoever they want, right? Or under this system, if people choose them, even though they don't happen to be of that religion, then that's what needs to happen. And then when that provider meets with that family, they can explain to them, the environment that they're in. And at that point, that family may say, oh man, I didn't know that. That's not the best fit for me. But that's how it works. Everybody gets the same equal opportunity to be able to get a seat where it is they want to go. And that's what equitable access is.
Let me see if I got this, I'm understanding correctly. So if we have a family that has signed up for UPK, they've picked us as their number one, number two choice. The lottery runs. We've done an interview with this family, and we're not diagnosing the child, but we've seen through our years of experience this child has a condition or an issue or something, severe allergies, whatever, whatever it is, ADHD, autism, that we're not properly suited to deal with here. So if I was to sit there after the interview and they're in the lottery already, and I tell this family, we're probably not a good fit because I'm not diagnosing your child, but after my years of experience, I've seen this behavior before. And typically from what I've experienced in the past, based on my own, something like that would be okay. And then we could come to you if they still insist. Because
So
now I've
first
done
of
my
all,
best to
what we
try
said.
and explain to them that we're not going to be a good fit.
yes, and first of all, I would love separately to sit down and talk with you about how you might be able to have that conversation with the family that you might get a better outcome than what you just said. Because if I were a parent and I heard that, I would pretty much tell you to stop it. Because it would make me feel as if you think my child is that there's something wrong with my child. And at that point, they're not going to listen to it anymore. They're not going to hear it. And so we can talk about how best to have that conversation if you would like. And I'll bet you can do a better job if you want to, if you think about it. You probably don't even need my advice, but I can give it to you should you want it. And then from there, you know, if you have had that conversation, Drew, stop the recording, please.
I'm sorry, Noreen.